Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sabrina Lard, Toon Boom's Product Marketing Manager. I'm here with Marc-André, Product Manager at Toon Boom.
Hello, everybody.
So Harmony 16 is here, and we're really excited to show you its powerful new tools, which will help increase your efficiency, streamline your productivity, and solidify your workflow. The goal of this webinar is to walk through Harmony 16's new and improved features that help users, such as yourselves, save time and stay focused on the task at hand. You can basically expect less manual work and more automated support from this latest version. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items to review. We invite you to ask any questions that come to mind in the questions section of your GoToWebinar panel. We will be monitoring them throughout the session, and they will be addressed towards the end of the webinar. We will also be recording this session, and it will be made available on our webinar page at toonboom.com/webinars. Additional resources may be found on our documents page, which is at docs.toonboom.com, as well as on our website. For more information on Harmony's new features, simply click on the Learn More button on the Harmony banner found on our homepage. You can also find a What's New brochure available in the Handouts section of your GoToWebinar panel. Also, we want to give a special thank you to Studio Red Frog and Les Films d'ici, whose productions will be featured in today's demo. I believe that just about wraps up our housekeeping notes. So without further ado, let's get started. Marc-André, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Sabrina, for the great introduction. This is our first webinar together. I'm happy to be doing this webinar with you. Yeah. And I'm also very happy with the Harmony 16 release. This was released just 2 weeks ago, and it's been getting very good reviews so far, very warm welcome. As Sabrina has mentioned, we've worked a lot on improving the workflow, the efficiency for people using the software. So people that use the software to animate, to do compositing, to do rigging, 8 hours plus per day. By reaching out to studios, to people using the software, we've identified some key areas we could improve to make their work faster and more efficient. We've made improvements in all types of productions. We made improvements for paperless animation, like I'm gonna show you with this Funan scene here. We're also made some improvements for the cutout animation type, for rigging people, for compositing. No matter what type of production, what style of production you're doing, and what you're doing with the software, we've got something to improve your workflow. So I'm going to start with this scene here. This is paperless animation from the feature film Funan, from the film d'ici. And the first feature I'm going to show you is the advanced onion skin. So we made some enhancement to the onion skin, just a regular onion skin. So if I turn on the onion skin here, the first thing you'll see, and of course I need to select the character there. First thing you'll see is that we've improved the look and the feel of the handles that you can use to extend the onion skin display inside the timeline. So right now my onion skin are displayed by frame, and I have this little red flag on the left side to extend the onion skin on the left side, and I've got the green flag on the right side to extend the onion skin. They're easier to pick than they used to be with the previous version, and they're also easier to see. You see there's a blue zone here to really show you all the zone that's going to be displayed in the onion skin. Now, the other thing we did is we created a new view. The view is called the onion skin view. So you can add this to your workspace by clicking the little plus button on any view and selecting onion skin. This view here gathers all the options that you have to manage the onion skin. So you've got some preferences, we had some items in the menus, options in the menus, and we brought all of this to that view, so it makes it easier to manage the onion skin. First thing is this one here at the bottom, by drawing, so I can change if I want to see my onion skin by drawings or by frame. So if I select by frame right there, I will see the little handles in my timeline. But if I go by drawing, I'm showing the onion skin by drawing and not by frame. So if I have a drawing that's exposed on 10 frames, and then another drawing right after that, and I set to see one drawing before and after, I will see the drawing that's 10 frames away. I won't see, so I will be able to easily see the drawings as I'm drawing in paperless animation. We have buttons here to change the display of the color display of your onion skin. So you don't have to go into preferences anymore to change that. You can do that directly from the interface. Makes it a lot easier. We've got the overall opacity right here to change the opacity of the onion skin. And we've got in the hamburger menu at the top left, all the other options. So if you want to see your onion skin with just the original colors, or using the colors defined here, or just as an outline. This one is really thin, so I have to zoom in to see the outline. So you can control everything from here. You don't have to go into preferences and search for options and the menus anymore. Now, the other thing we've done is that with this view, we have access to advanced onion skin. So when I click on this button here, this allows me to have more control over the display of the onion skin. I can select exactly which drawing I want to see before and after. Let's say I want to see drawing 5 and drawing 7. I can just enable those two, or I can enable all the drawings in my onion skin, disable them, or see just one drawing before. Let's say I want to see one drawing before. And one thing I like to do is, let's say I want to, as I'm drawing paperless animation, should take my drawing tool right here. Sometimes I want to see the previous key drawing. So I have these options now directly in my onion skin view. I don't have to go to the onion skin toolbar. I can do that directly from here. So when I turn on the K button here, I see the key drawings. So all the drawings that are marked with a red box at the top, I will see only those in my onion skin. If I turn on the breakdowns, I will see only the breakdowns. So I have quick access to what I want to see in my onion skin. Now, one thing that happens a lot when you're drawing on paper or paperless, and you have a character like there's a girl here that's moving, she's changing position, changing place on your piece of paper. And sometimes what you need to do, you want to align your two pieces of paper, your drawings on the two pieces of paper together. So you take the piece of paper, you take it out of the pegs, and you move the paper to align the drawings. We have something that's a new tool that makes this possible to do this in the camera view. We already had this functionality in the drawing view using the desk, but it was a little bit more difficult to manage. Now we have a new tool that's called the Shift and Trace tool. It's available in the same menu where you have the hand, the zoom, the rotate view. It's called the Shift and Trace tool. And when I select this, I'll see all the options for my Shift and Trace available in my tool properties. And I can also open the Shift and Trace toolbar from my toolbar menu right here. So I just right-click close to a toolbar in my interface, and I select Shift and Trace. So with the Shift and Trace tool, what I can do is I can shift the current drawing. I can also undo the shift, or I can shift a drawing that's visible in the onion skin. And this is a temporary shift. So let's say I shift the current drawing here, and I do a software render. So I render my scene. It will actually show me the real position. So it's not saved in the scene. It's not rendered out of the scene. It's really just a tool for the animator that needs to shift the drawing, take the paper off the pegs, and align the drawing with the previous drawing. In this case here, I'll be drawing on the nose. So what I want to do, I want to align those two drawings to be able to draw the nose. So now I'm going to apologize to Shu here, the character, because I'm not that good at drawing, but you can understand. Oh, and I'm drawing with the wrong color. So I press D, select the black color right there, and can easily draw with the drawings aligned together. Now I rotated the drawing using the Command Alt key on my Mac, which would be Control Alt on Windows. This is something that was already possible in the past. It's not something new. I'll reset my view with the button right here. Go back. And now I can take my select tool and slightly modify that drawing. So take my select tool right here and modify it like so. Make it slightly different. There we go. So the Shift and Trace is really great when you're working on traditional animation. You need to align the drawings. And as I said, this is only a temporary position, which means that if I render, the drawings will be rendered at the proper place. It's not saved in the project. If I turn off the shift position, I see the drawing going back to their original position. And I can go back to their shifted position by clicking on the little shift button there. When I have my tool active, right here. Let's say I go back to my key drawings. Another thing that's nice about this tool is that let's say I shift this drawing here to that position. I can also do some rotation, do some scaling. So I have a pivot I can move, scale up like this, or to rotate if I need to. Now this position is, it's not saved. It's per drawing, but it's not saved. It's per drawing. So which means that if I change frame, the drawing that I shifted remains shifted as I shifted it. But just remember, this is not saved in the scene. This is not rendered. It's really temporary. And if I want to get rid of all the shift and trace information, go back to the default position. I can use the reset shift and trace on all drawings button here, and it will reset the position of everything there. Now, another great tool, let me turn off the onion skin right here. There we go. Another great tool we've added for traditional animation, and actually can be used for cutout as well, is called the mirror view. So under the view menu here, I have a new command that's called mirror view. When I use this, and I set myself through the preferences, the shortcut to M. If I do use that command, it will mirror the whole view inside my camera view, inside the current camera view, so I can have a fresh perspective, a fresh look at my drawing. So when I'm working on a drawing for a long time, sometimes I just see details and I have hard time seeing my drawing as a whole. So it's difficult for me to see if the proportions are right or if the composition is nice. So what I can do is I can use the mirror view just to shift, or just use the mirror in my toolbar right here to mirror the drawing, and it gives me a new perspective of my drawing and makes it easy to see if I have composition or proportions errors in my drawing. This is also temporary information. It's not saved in the scene. It's the same thing as moving the view around or zooming in or rotating. This changes the display of the current view, but it doesn't change the render. So if I do a final render, the drawing will be rendered properly. And if I have two camera views in my workspace, or a camera view and a drawing view, it's actually per view. So I can mirror the drawing view and not mirror the camera view. It's really per view like the zoom level is, or the panning is. Another tool we've added, and that's not just for traditional animation, is or a new option, is when you select strokes with your select tool and you want to move them, you have to go and click on the actual stroke that's selected. And if you click next to it, you kind of deselect it by accident. And that can be annoying. So we've added a new option. So in the select tool properties, I have a new button here called the easy drag. And when that's enabled, whenever I make a selection, I can click anywhere inside the box to drag it. So I don't have to click on the line directly. I can click anywhere. So it makes it a lot faster to move something that's selected without accidentally deselecting it. Personally, myself, I leave that option on all the time now. I don't even turn it off. And the software remembers if this was on or off. So the next time you open the software, it will be enabled again. That goes over the main tools for the paperless animation. I don't know if you have any feedback or questions yet.
We are monitoring the questions. We do have a question here. Can you toggle between shade and normal onion skin in that view?
Of course. So using the onion skin view, yes, I showed that very quickly. So if I have my onion skin enabled, right now I'm seeing, well, this one doesn't have any colors, so it's I'm just going to see black. But if I go in my onion skin view, and I click on the hamburger menu at the top left, I've got original colors. Will show me the drawings with their original colors, or colored using the color here, or just the outline mode. So this is where I can change this option. So I don't have to go in the preferences anymore. I can do it directly from here. I hope that makes sense. Another tool we've added that comes from actually Storyboard Pro. We've added this in Storyboard Pro, and now we have it in Harmony as well, is the stamp tool. So the stamp tool is very useful when you want to, there's something you want to use over and over inside a scene. So it can be used for reference, for example. So I've got a couple of stamps already created. And this one would be an example of a size comparison. So if I just flick once here, this will stamp this character. If I press on the arrows on my keyboard, I can shift through or cycle through the different drawings that are available on that tool. So I can use my sizolation or my model. So I can create a stamp of all the drawings that I have that I want to use as reference as models for my drawings, for my roughs. I can use cycles as well. So I've got this little beaver here that's running. And it's actually a couple of drawings like that I can use as a cycle for the character to be running. Or if I want to have bubbles, let's say I have bubbles somewhere, bubble trail, like so. I can stamp easily. So these drawings, you create them inside Harmony on different frames. You select the frames from which you want to create the stamp, and you click on the Create New Stamp. And this creates a new preset for the stamp tool inside your stamp tool properties. And these stamps, they have some parameters, some properties that are really similar to the normal brush tool, vector brush tool. You have the maximum and the minimum scale, so the maximum and minimum size, so it's pressure sensitive. I can flip the drawings if I want to, change the roundness, change the angle, change the spacing. So if I want to have a lot of space between my bubbles, I can do this. I can have some random spacing, some random angles to really have the brush that I want. So this is really great for reference, or for creating snow or rain and things like that. Now let's go back to Shoe here. Let me show you a couple of things that we've done in the node view. So we've also improved the manipulation of nodes inside the node view. So if I go inside a group right here, and you see all of these nodes are kind of not well positioned. Well, we made it easy now to position all your nodes so that the node graph is easier to see and read. So the first thing you'll notice is when I'm moving something and the cable becomes straight, it will snap into position. So it makes it easy to have a straight cable. The other thing we've done is that when you move a node like this and it aligns with a node horizontally, it will snap as well horizontally. So it makes it really fast, create a really well organized node view. The other thing is that you can now also nudge. So when I select nodes, if I use the arrows on my keyboard, I can move the nodes using my keyboard. So sometimes you just want to shift it a little bit, but you don't want to change the position on the X or Y axis. You can just select them and nudge them with the keys on your keyboard. So it makes it a lot faster to create and organize and an easy to read node graph. Another thing we've added are waypoints. So when I select a node like this and the cable is highlighted, I have a dot that appears on the cable. This is a waypoint that I can move to shape the path. I've seen in the past people using composites to be able to shape the cable as they want. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can use waypoints. And once you have a waypoint in here, you can actually draw a second cable from it. If you press Shift and hold it, then click the waypoint and drag away, it will create a new connection. You can copy paste waypoints like this and create connections between them to really organize the node graph the way you want. Now, the other accelerator we've done here is, let's say I have multiple nodes like this and I want to connect them to a composite. Usually I would need to create a composite and then connect them one by one, but with Harmony 16, I can just select the nodes that I want to create to connect to the composite, create a composite. I'm going to use the Control-H shortcut right here. I could also use the insert command from my menu. And it creates the node, the composite node, and it connects all the nodes directly to it, so I don't have to connect them one by one. So it's a lot faster, a lot easier to create and connect cables to a composite. The other thing is that, let's say I have a pass-through composite. So if the mode of the composite is set to pass-through, the cable under my composite will display differently to show that this cable here carries multiple images. So all of these nodes here from my scene are going through the pass-through composite. So they're not actually composite together. So I can still insert other things in between if they have different Z values. So this is why the cable here displays with a different color. It's a little bit wider to show that this cable actually carries multiple images with independent Z position. And final but not least, I'm able to navigate the node graph now very easily. by, let's say I select a port. I want to know where this cable goes to. So if I select the port and I press the up arrow, it's going to navigate the cable and go to the node. If I continue pressing up, it will go all the way to the node that's linking to outside of the group. Once I'm on that node, I can press enter, brings me out of it. I can go back inside the group. So makes it very, very easy to see where a cable is going without having to pan and, okay, the cable is highlighted. And no, I just select the port, press the up arrow, and it will go to the next node at the top. The next couple of features I'm going to show you are for cutouts. So let me shift to my cutout scene right here. So this is a scene from Anna Anna, produced by Red Frog and Oasis Studios. Let me do a little playback here. So the first thing you'll notice on that scene, so this is actually a great scene. I love this scene. The look is really nice. Looks like it was watercolor painted, and the lines are a little bit rough. And this is a cutout character. So if I select individual pieces, you can see that these are all individual pieces, cutout character. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the camera is kind of not at the proper position. So I want to fix that. I could select the camera, go up my hierarchy, and then fix that on every frame, but it will be a long process. So what we've done inside Harmony 16, we have a new option, a new animation mode called the Animate Onion Skin range. So when I click on the little running button here, I don't turn on and off the current frame animation mode. I have options of, I have 3 modes to select from. So the current frame, which was the Animate On mode, Animate Off, which was the all frames mode before, and now we have the new mode called Animate Onion Skin range. When I select that mode, it automatically turns on my onion skins. So I don't have to do that a second click, because I can only use that mode if I have the onion skin enabled. It doesn't make sense to use it without the onion skin. And it will display my selection with green instead of displaying it with red or with yellow, which you have when you have the normal mode enabled. And then I will use the onion skin here to extend the onion skin and to select all the frames I want to do the modification on. So I'll extend it before. I will extend it after as well, like this, all the way to the last frame I want to modify. There we go. And then when I will rotate the camera right here, it will rotate the camera on all the keyframes. So it actually modifies the values of all the keyframes that are within that onion skin range. I can fine tune the position, turn off the onion skin. Now if I scrub through, oh, I missed a frame. Oh no. I can just fix that one very quickly. There we go. And if I have the mode enabled and I don't have the onion skin enabled, the mode will work as if I was in current frame mode. So that's why I was able to fix just that one frame without changing mode. But be careful. When you're in that mode, don't animate with the onion skin on, because you're going to break all your animation. This is why when you turn it on, the selection turns green, so it's a different color. So you see that it's a different mode. And also the onion skin range here displays in green, so it's not displayed in blue like it was before. Let me turn off the onion skin, go back to animate current frame mode. The next feature I want to show you is to help you edit curve envelopes. Well, curve deformers in general, but more precisely curve envelopes. So if I turn on the display of the envelope here, you'll see that I have multiple points. And if I want to select multiple points, I have to shift-click each of those points, and this can be a little bit time-consuming. So we've got this option here that existed in 15, but then didn't work with curve deformers. Now it does. So when I turn on the control selection mode, and I like to use this with the manipulator option of the deformers. So when I make a selection, a lasso or box selection, it will allow me to select. My mouse is not working very well. I'm going to go back to my pen. There we go. A lot faster. So when I make a selection, it selects those points. I don't have to shift-click all of these points individually. And with the manipulator, it makes it very fast to actually animate this little cycle here. select the points again. And another new option, a new feature we've added in Harmony 16 is once you have nodes selected, curve deformer points selected, you can actually nudge them using the keyboard arrows. So if I just press left and right or up and down, it will move by 1 pixel. If I press shift, it will move by 10 pixels increments every time I hit the keyboard. So it makes it possible to precisely position the points without having them move on the other axis that you don't want them to move. Now, the other feature we've added for cutout animation is the drawing substitutions view. So when I want to change a drawing that's displayed here, so I select the hand in the camera view here, I go to my library and I have a lot of drawings to scrub through to select the hand that I want. So we have a new view here called the drawing substitutions, and I can have this view as a floating view, or I can dock it inside my interface, whatever I want. And it will display all the drawings available in the selected layer. So if I select the mouth, you're going to see all the mouth. If I select the hair, you're going to see all the hair drawings available. But it not just shows you the drawings that are available, it also allows you to select the drawing that you want to use at the current frame. So let's say I go to frame 5 and I want to change the drawing that's assigned at that frame. I just click on that. We'll change it for that frame, and then I go farther. I want to go to use that hand right there. Oh, that looks painful. Like she twisted her wrist. So now if I scrub through, you will see that as I go to different frames, it will highlight the drawing that's exposed at that frame. So I can easily find the drawing that's used at a frame. And then if I need to assign a new drawing, I just select the drawing here. And in this view, I can zoom in and zoom out if I want to see my drawings bigger or smaller. If I have a huge list of drawings, I can make this view very, very big. But this is way faster than scrubbing through in the library. Sometimes a character can have maybe 50 drawings for the hands or for the mouth, and finding the one that you're looking for is difficult. With the drawing substitutions view, that's difficult to say. The hardest part about using the drawing substitutions is saying the word. Yeah, and the other feature that we've added, that it's not only for cutout, it's also for traditional animation or any type of animation, is that when you lock a layer with the little lock icon, I was going to say cadenas in French, if I make a selection and I drag and drop, whatever is locked doesn't get modified. So you see it shifted the keyframes on this layer here, but it didn't do anything on that layer because that layer is locked. Let me undo this. So whenever you lock a layer, we display some lines on the layer. We gray it out a little bit to show you that it's locked. And if I make a selection, actually I can make a selection because I could copy keyframes from there, but I could not paste or delete or change them in time. So it really truly locks the layer in place. How is it going so far, Sabrina? Any questions, any comments?
We have a bunch of questions.
Yes.
One of the questions that we have right now about drawing substitutions is, do the thumbnails propagate automatically in the drawing substitution window?
Yes, so whenever I didn't do anything with that scene, this scene was actually animated in the previous version of Harmony because they animated this with Harmony 15. And whenever I select a layer, it's the same thing as the library view here, the drawing substitution. This shows me all the thumbnails, all the drawings that are available. It's the same thing for the drawing substitutions view. It just takes the thumbnails that we use in the drawing substitution panel in the library. It displays them in that view. So you don't have to generate the thumbnails. You don't have to do anything special. Just select the layer and it displays them on the fly. It only generates the thumbnails for the one that are displayed. So if you scroll, if I had more, as I scroll, I would see all the other drawings appear. Any other questions related to the features?
Is it easy to reorganize and rename the drawings in the new window under drawing substitutions?
Well, this window is mostly for display purposes and drawing substitution. It's not a view where you can change the position or rename drawings. It's really just to display and help you select the drawings that you want. If I want to rename a drawing, I'll still do it from the timeline or the X sheet using the rename command. And when I do that, it will appear as renamed inside the drawing substitutions. And if I duplicate the drawing, like let's say I select the hand here, and why do I close the view every time? There we go, and I open the view. Let's say I duplicate that drawing will automatically appear in my drawing substitutions view. And if I rename, it will also appear as renamed. So, and any new drawing will also appear in this view directly. I'm going to leave the view open just in case there's another questions about the drawing substitutions.
I think we're good with drawing substitutions. I am getting a couple of questions that are coming in asking if we're going to save the video. Yes, we will be saving this video. It is being recorded at the moment, and it'll be available on our webinars page.
Yeah, so in a matter of a couple of days after this webinar, we'll convert the recording and put it up for display for available to everybody. Correct. All right. So now the next scene I'm going to use is this scene here to show you a couple of things we've added, a couple of new nodes that we've added and options we've added for compositing here. So I've got this scene here with Anna that's running, and she's running, and what I'd like to have in this scene is a background that scrolls continuously for the whole duration of the scene. Now the background is a bit short; it's not long enough. The good thing is that when the background was drawn, it's possible to repeat the background. So I could copy paste the background and repeat it using copy pasting nodes, but that's not very efficient, and it takes more memory every time you make a copy of the drawing. So we have a new option here inside the node view, or I could do this from the timeline as well. So when I open the editor for the node or the layer, if I go on the drawing tab, I have an option here. Let me zoom out a little bit. I have the option here at the bottom for the bitmap file options to tile the drawing horizontally. This works only on bitmap drawings, so PSD, TGAs, PNGs. It doesn't work with vector art created inside Harmony yet. I can tile horizontally and I can tile vertically. So if I had a vertical pan, I could tile it just vertically instead. In this case, I just want to tile it horizontally. And if we close this. Now it's scrolling, but it doesn't scroll until the end of the scene because we've only made a cycle of this. Now, the way we would do that in Harmony would be to copy and paste the keyframes of the cycle. But now we have a new node here called the transform loop. I can take and put directly under my peg. So if I make my node view a little bigger, I've got the transform loop node right here. So I've got my peg that has a transform loop, and the actual background. And now if I scroll in my timeline and go past the last keyframe, you see that the background continues scrolling. So it's repeating itself. If I disable the tile options, you're going to see that very easily. So the background is actually repeating the panning cycle. And by tiling it horizontally, I'm able to have this seamless pan. You could also draw this background twice the size and just repeat it without turning on the tile option. That would also work. So now we've got the background scrolling. So if I turn this on, now the background is scrolling indefinitely, but Anna is not running. She keeps running, but she doesn't move. So I'm going to use another copy of the transform loop. So I just copy and paste it from my node view. I could go and pull one out of that node library, but I think it's just faster to do this way. So now we see that she's repeating the run cycle, but she's always going back to her initial position. If I open the transform loop editor right here, layer properties, I can see that I have a loop type option here, and I have 3 different loops. I have the repeat, which is the one that repeats the cycle. I've got the ping pong, which will go back and forward and backwards. And I have the repeat and offset. So what the repeat and offset does, it takes the last position of the cycle, and it continues the cycle or repeats the cycle from that position on. So she continues running and running and running indefinitely. But makes it very easy to create a cycle that repeats itself. Now let's say I want to change the speed of the background. The background is going too fast. If I just change the position of the keyframe here and flip this back again, you'll see that the background now is moving a lot slower. And the cycle automatically adjusts. Because in the transform loop here, I have automatic range detection. If I want to specify a specific range, I can also do this. I want to make this faster. Now the background goes really fast. The other node that's new, so I'm going to take this scrolling background out. The other node that we've added in Harmony 16 is called the shake node, like this. And the shake node can be used for camera shakes or anything that you want to shake inside the view, inside your scene. I've connected directly on the camera node that I have in my node view here. And if I play back the scene, you see I already have a shake going on in the scene. Let me open the shake properties. So the shake is kind of an evolution of the quake node we had in the past. The quake node was really rough. The shake node is a bit smoother and has more options, actually. You can control the shake amplitude on the position X, Y, Z individually, and the rotation as well, and the X, Y, and Z. The first option we have at the top is the frequency. So it's based on frames. So if I put a frequency of 1, it will change position every frame. If I put 0.1, it will change position every 10 frame or so. You need to remember that this is random. This is randomized, so it's not exactly 10 frame. It can be every 8 frame to 12 frame. So to keep something that looks natural. Then we have octaves. Octaves are secondary frequencies that we add on the first frequency. The multiplier is to multiply the amplitude from the first frequency onto the octaves. And the random seed is to define the seed used for the random values. So let's say I use a shake node, actually 2 shake nodes, and I put all the same values in both of them. Both of them will produce exactly the same movement. And if I want to have different movement, I just change the seed in one of them, and they will have individual movements. Now I think it's not fast enough. There we go. If I want to have it shake really fast, I can put bigger values in here. And now she's really heavy, and she's really pounding the floor as she's running. Yes, so any questions on these new nodes? Let me stop the shaking here.
We have a couple of questions on tiling a background. So one of the questions is, can you tile a certain amount of frames and then stop to change to an alternative? For instance, Anna is running and she ends up in a house after the run.
I guess so. That's a very good question because it tiles whatever is displayed. And I've never tried this, actually, because a layer can contain multiple drawings. Right now, my layer only contains 1 drawing. I didn't try it with 2 drawings. That's a really good idea. So that would have to be tried and see if it works. And in the worst case, you can have 2 layers and just turn one on and the other off as you need them.
Great. We've actually stumped the product manager. Look at that.
Uh-oh.
We have another question about the transform loop. Does it only loop keyframes in a peg, not images in a layer?
Yes, it only loops transformation. If you have many pegs above the transform loop, it will use the transformation from all of these pegs and loop it. But it will only use the peg or the node that's above to determine the range of frames it will loop. So if you need to loop a different range of frames, you can turn off the automatic detection here and specify the frames you want to loop.
Great. We have a question on the shake node. Can you use the shake node with a color override to move a texture of a line?
Well, the shake node is kind of a peg. So any place you would use a peg, you can use the shake node. There's no problem about that. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about the shake node is that all of the parameters, except for the seed and the steps, are animatable. So I can assign a curve to these functions, and I can use the same curve on multiple functions. So if I want my shake to start slowly, gain in amplitude, and then reduce, I can create a curve that will do that for me. And you'll notice at the bottom, I have an attribute called step. So if you're animating on 2s and you want your camera to change, to move every 2 frames, you can set this on step of 2s or step of 3s to have your movement match your animation. All right, so now I'm going to go to the master controllers. Actually, it's another scene I want to use right here. So the master controllers, we've done a couple of improvements inside Harmony 16 as well for that. One thing is that we've improved the performance of the master controllers. We did that ongoing in Harmony 15, and we continued after the last patch of Harmony 15 into Harmony 16. And we've added a lot of features, a lot of functions that you can use inside the master controllers. But what we've done for the actual people using the master controllers, not people building the master controllers, is we created a master controller view that you can add to your workspace. What this does, it will show you all the master controllers that are available inside the scene. So if you have lots of characters, it will list all of the master controllers here. You have a filter here that you can use to say, I just want to see the expression controller. It will only list those controllers. So you don't have to go into node view, find a controller, enable it. You can just select it inside this view here, turn on the show controller button, you click on the show controller button, and this turns on the master controller that you've selected. So now you can animate using the master controller. For those of you that are not familiar with the master controllers were introduced in Harmony 15, and this is something that you put in place when you're rigging your character. So you rig a character, you set you preset some animation, and then you use a script to create the master controller to manipulate the layers inside, or the timing inside Harmony. Now with Harmony 16, we've also made it easier to create master controller. If I go here to that one here, I'm going to show you a quick example of how to create a master controller for this. So this was rigged inside Harmony, of course, and some animations was done to create the different type of expressions I want to use on my master controller. I will select the proper layers inside my timeline. So I will select the beaver peg, the group, and the neck and head. And now I will use my master controller toolbar. So if I right-click close to a toolbar inside interface, I have a master controller toolbar. This toolbar has two buttons. It has an interpolation grid wizard and a slider grid wizard. I'll show you how to use the interpolation grid wizard. So you just click on that, brings up a window. I have a couple of presets of different grids. So this is an actual grid that I could be using to create all the different head positions of an interpolation between head positions. I'm going to do something simple because I don't want to have to set I don't know how many points. I'm going to use just a large 2x2 grid here. Zoom out a little. There we go. Click OK. Zoom out a little bit. So we've created this one. So you can create whatever type of presets you want, and you can save it for a later use. So this has four corners, the same four corners that I have with the different expressions, right? So on frame 1, I have the happy expression. On frame 10, I have the perplexed expression. On frame 20, the surprised. And on frame 30, the angry beaver. So I will go to the first frame, and I will assign this to the top corner of my interpolation grid. When I click on the point here, it reads the frame that I'm on, that I have as my current frame in my timeline. I click OK, and this assigns it to here. And if I go to this one here, and I click on it, it's set to frame 30, which I saved my preset with the wrong value right there. So I can just type the proper frame right here, go to the next expression. This is the surprise, so the surprise will go at the bottom left, right here, frame 20, and then frame 30, the angry position that I will assign to that corner here. So now I have the different expressions, and if I click on the different corners, once they're green, it will show me the value. So when I click on the top left corner, it goes to the happy one. I click on this one, it will go to frame 10 to show me the perplexed, the angry, and the surprised. And now I'm ready to create the master controller. So I will type a name for my master controller in the output section. I will create, This will ask me where do I want to connect the master controller, where I want to save the script. So it's going to be saved as a script in the scene. And now I'll be able to use this to change to the different expressions. So if I take my little dot here and I go to the top left corner, he's happy. If I go to the top right corner, he's perplexed. If I go in the middle, he's kind of going to be surprised. Oh my God, this is amazing. And stop playing with my face, Marc-André. Oh, yay, that's great. So this is how you can easily create a grid, an interpolation grid master controller using the new presets inside Harmony. Any questions on that?
We are all set with the master controller questions.
Great. Now, another thing we've done inside Harmony 16 is we've made it easier to import backgrounds in PSD format. So when you import a PSD image import, you select a PSD file. So the PSD file might have multiple layers, right? And when I click OK, it will give me 3 options. In the previous version of Harmony, I only had 2 options, the single layer and the group as layers. Now I have a new option called individual layers. When I select this, what Harmony will do is it will recreate the structure of the PSD file inside Harmony. So the option that we had before, groups as layers, what it would do, it was mostly used for if, let's say, you create a cutout character inside Photoshop. You put the different hands inside a group inside Photoshop as individual layers. So you have a group folder group that's called hands inside Photoshop. You have 4 layers. You have 4 drawings. And what it does is it actually will create the different one group with 1 layer and put 4 hands on it. Now this is not what I want to do with. And where did it add it? Oh no, where's my PSD? I think I was inside a group, so it put it inside the group. Wrong display, there we go. So with the new option, instead of putting all the layers that are inside a group in the same group, in the same layer, it will actually recreate the same structure. So all the groups that I have inside the PSD will be recreated inside Harmony. If I have blending modes, we'll actually create the blending mode inside my node view, so I don't have to recreate them by hand. And it will also expose the drawing until the end of the scene automatically. So it's really meant, this import option is really meant to use with backgrounds, where the previous option was meant to be used with characters drawn inside the Photoshop. So this makes it a lot faster to use backgrounds drawn in individual layers inside Photoshop. Another new option that we have, and let me just create a new scene here, render 2D, is for 3D models. So when you're working with 3D models inside Harmony, we already had the ability to import 3D models inside Harmony. But now we have a new option when importing a 3D model. So if I go to import 3D models, I select the 3D model I want to import. And I have a new option here at the bottom called Convert to 2D. And I will use that option if I want to use my 3D background as a flat image inside Harmony. When I use that option, it opens this window here that I can use to position my camera where I want. So let's say I want to use this, and I want to use this background as reference inside Harmony to create the layout or to animate or whatever I want with it. I position the way I want. I click on render to scene, and it will render that background to my scene as a flat image. So it's not a 3D background anymore. So it has a couple of advantages. Once it's lighter than having a 3D model inside your scene to display. It's flat, so which means that if I move my camera, it acts as a flat image. It doesn't show you perspective. And I can just draw over it to use it as a reference. And let's say I'm not happy with the position of that I use for rendering this image. I can select the layer, right-click the layer inside the timeline and select Update Model Position. It will open the view back to where I was before. I can change the angle here, click on Render to Scene, and it will update the position that it has inside the view. So this is really meant for references where you want to, so people, what they would do in the past is they would open a 3D model inside Maya, for example, find the angle that they want, render this, import this into Harmony, and then draw over it to create their background. Now we can do that directly into Harmony without having to have a Maya license on your computer. Just import the 3D model inside Harmony, use the Convert to 2D, position, render to scene, and you have it in your scene, and you can use it to draw directly over it. How is it going so far? Any questions, Sabrina?
We do have a question. What if the PSD has groups and layers? Will this feature recreate groups and layers?
Yes, so the previous import, exactly. So the previous import I did when I use File, Import Images, and I import a PSD and I use the individual layers, it recreates all the groups and all the layers that I have, the same structure that I have inside Photoshop, inside Harmony. So it supports the groups, it supports the blending modes, of course the layers, and also the transparency values on the layers inside Photoshop. Now, a couple of other features we've added inside Harmony 16 is now we have support for frame rates that are not integers. So you can use decimal values inside Harmony when you create a scene. So you have a complete pipeline from storyboard to Harmony to editing and final post, where you can create your project inside Storyboard Pro, use, oh my God, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a fire truck going by the office, and with the horn, the screen, and the siren. Sorry about that. So you create your project inside Storyboard Pro, you select the frame rate, 23976, and then when you export to Harmony, you will be able to continue using that same frame rate inside Harmony and inside the whole of your pipeline. Some other improvements we've done is to the rendering. So the rendering of 4K scenes in particular is faster inside the Harmony 16. So we've made some optimizations on how the rendering is done, on the cache handling as well. It depends on the scene. The more complex the scene is, the faster it will be. But it all really depends on what you have in the scene. But we've seen some scenes going from cutting in half the rendering time on some very, very complex scenes.
We have a few questions that came in a little late after we skipped over master controllers. Does Harmony in between the expressions, or were they drawn by hand?
Actually, that's a good question. I will need to go back to that scene because I'm not the one that created the scene, but it's a cutout character, so all the pieces are individual pieces. And if we look at this expression here and I expand this, I don't have, expand the whole thing. I don't have any extra keyframes, so it's really just interpolation between the positions. So I suppose this scene is using positions and deformers to go from one expression to another. So yeah, so these are most likely envelope deformers used to deform the drawings, and Harmony interpolates directly in between. Now the master controller, so I only have 10 frames here, well, 20 to 30, only have 10 frames in between those two keyframes. But when I create the master controller will interpolate in between those two keyframes indefinitely. So it's more precise than scrolling through here. Some other things we've done for people writing scripts, if we've improved the way the scripting editor works. And if I go to the scripting editor here, so now for those of you that are familiar with scripts, the big change that we've made inside this version is that all the script that we supply with the software stay in the software resources. So in the past, when you would start Harmony for the first time, it would take the scripts and copy them into your user. So if you're using a script like the order network script in the node view, and we decide to make a change to that script, and then we release a new patch, you install this, but you already had installed the previous version, the script would not be copied to your preferences, so you would not get the new version of the script. Now the script, they live and they stay in the application resources. So if you get a new version of the Harmony install, you will get the new script directly inside your system. And if you want to make a modification to a script, you can select it, make the script editable, copy it to your user. And once it's in your user, you can modify it to the way you want, and it will stay in your user. And if you install a new version, the one in your user will stay there. But if you ever want to go back to the original script, you can click on Restore to Default, and it will load the default script back into your C.
Great. And for those who still need more information on master controllers or any other information, just a reminder, because we are getting a couple of questions asking where we can find more information. If you go to docs.toonboom.com, you can find a variety of different documentation on all of our products, including Harmony. The latest release notes on version 16, installation, getting started, user guide, and references are all available on docs.toonboom.com.
Yes.
And we also have,
yes, go ahead,
our Learn portal. Marc-André beat me to it. If you go to learn.toonboom.com, we have a Learn portal where you can find more information on what's new in Harmony 16. We just uploaded a brand new Kickstart journey, as you can see here.
Yeah, and we have a lot of resources as well here for anything about Harmony. If you want to learn about anything specific, all of that is documented here, and there's some great videos to help you through learning those features inside Harmony.
So that just about wraps it up. Thank you very much, Marc-André, for deep diving into that product. If you haven't downloaded Harmony 16 yet, trials are available on our website. Don't forget to tag us if you're uploading your work to social media. You can use the hashtag #ToonBooming for a chance to be featured on our social pages.
Oh, that reminds me, we forgot a very nice feature to show you.
Yes, we did.
So it's actually the file export. And if you go in file export, there's a new command here called animated GIF.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, this is not used for production. It's really more used for fun. So whatever you animate inside Harmony, you can generate animated GIF now directly from here that you can share on social media with your friends without having to use an external converter.
Great. So keep an eye out on our social media pages. We'll be having a GIF contest very soon. So once again, use the hashtag #ToonBooming for a chance to be featured on our social pages. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time.
Wow, and thank you very much, Sabrina, and thank you everyone for listening me babble for about 1 hour. We're really good. It's been 1 hour. It's 3 p.m. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and I hope you enjoy Harmony 16 very much as we did enjoy to make it happen. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.